Hello, everybody, and welcome to Zambia Blog Talk Radio. It is Saturday, December the 7th. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, compliments of the season to everybody joining us today. In exactly 24 days, we'll be saying 2025. So we thought that considering that part of things, it's very important to, before we end the year, to engage our political leaders, because very shortly we'll be saying the elections are next year, not 2026, because the song now has been 2026. Now we will be saying next year it's election year. So we thought of bringing back to the show our special guest. He's been here before to come and discuss with us how the alliance is preparing for elections. Joining us from the great nation and state and city of Lusaka is Mr. Sakwiba Sikota, State Council. He is the chairperson for the United Kwacha Alliance. Mr. Sikota, welcome. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's afternoon here, but out there, I believe it's morning. So I'll be in order to say Mwaoka.
Twawuka tulibayo. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes. Let me begin by asking you. Earlier in the day, you attended the Citizens First Party Extraordinary Convention. Could you just share briefly with us how things went and what your experience was?
It went very well. It was very well organized, and it was held countrywide in that they did linkages with the other 9 provinces.
Okay.
And we were able to see on the screens the other conventions in the other provincial centers. And the turnout was good, orderly, and they received us as WUKA very well.
Okay. That's very interesting. I'm glad to hear that the political parties are getting into this thing of using technology and virtue, because I think it's expensive to try and get everybody in one place. Is that right?
This is very true. That's very true. And this makes it that more people can attend, and it means that they're not away from their workplaces. If they had to travel all the way to Lusaka, with some of them, it would take 2 days to get back to where they're coming from, and it would be very difficult in terms of that.
Excellent. I want us to address 2 constitutional issues before we get into UKA's readiness to in preparation for the 2026 elections. Mr. Sikota, I am very concerned about the Elijah and Ernest Kaumba, the 2 brothers who were in detention for more than 50 days. My main issue, sir, is that I clearly remember, and the citizens can remember, that the clause in the Constitution of defaming the president was removed. Am I right?
That is very correct.
So why, I don't know how to ask this question, because we need to be careful here. The matter is in court. Why were the boys held for that long? Because they said they defamed the president, but the clause has been removed from the constitution.
Let me start from a slightly different angle from what you
Yeah.
have stated. And no matter what they were arrested or accused of, even
Yes.
if, let's say, they were accused of treason, the law requires that within 48 hours, if you're not given them bond, you must take them to court. That is irrespective of what they're charged with.
Yes.
Now, I'll turn to your question directly in terms of what they were picked up for, defamation of the president. Like you rightly put out, that is no longer on our statute books. So one cannot be arrested and prosecuted for that. It's for that reason that, by the way, it was more than 60 days. You were saying 50 days. It was more than 60 days that they were kept. They were not brought to court because I think that the state did not know what to charge them with. Finally, they decided to to take them to court, and in a roundabout way, it is still basically defamation of the president. But they cannot state that, because then the question will be, how are you charging people with things that are no longer on our statute books? And the reason they quickly brought them there is because that week there had been a large number of people going. You had Archbishop Banda going to see them. You had other people like Brebna Changala go and see them. You had ourselves, UKA, go and see them. That was myself together with President Kateka and President Robert Chansa. And when we came out, I specifically stated that in view of what had happened, we were going to take out habeas corpus application, which means that you are demanding that the state bring the body of the persons in question and to give explanation as to why they are still in custody and have not been released. And then my colleague, President Kateka, made a challenge to the Human Rights Commission saying that we see them talking about all kinds of things. Some of their members, and she specifically was talking about Laura Miti, talking about so many things, but the things which are supposed to be upmost in terms of what she's talking about, like the Kaumba brothers, she does not talk about. And we challenge the Human Rights Commission as to why then they should be in their positions if they're not doing the very job that they're supposed to do. I also challenged the President Hakainde to say he has made lots of statements at press conferences and so on, saying, I don't want to hear that you have kept somebody for more than, in fact, he was not saying 48 hours, but 24 hours, more than 24 hours. If you arrest somebody, you must take them to court or give them bond within 24 hours. And you must, before arresting, investigate. So I said, well, you made that statement. If it wasn't just for public show and you actually meant it, you're supposed to call the Inspector General of Police and say, you heard me saying that you shouldn't do this. Why are you doing this? Some heads should roll. If people are being held, the law says 48 hours.
Exactly.
These were being kept more than 48 days. Forget about hours. They were being kept more than 48 days. Surely, if the president truly believes what you are saying, he should then discipline some people. Some people should lose their jobs.
Wow. So eventually the boys are on bond?
They're on bond eventually. And Makebi Zulu and Jonas Zimba, who are the ones who have now taken up the case on their behalf, have taken the matter to the High Court. They've applied, rather, to take the matter to the High Court for constitutional interpretation. I believe that the magistrate will be giving I forget the date when the ruling on that will be given. But it's within about three or so weeks.
Okay, interesting. Another constitutional issue, State Council, is recently, not even in the past few weeks or months, the Speaker of the National Assembly, how has she handled her role, both generally and in relation to the MP JJ Banda's issue?
I think that generally she is perceived by people as being too openly biased. That is the general view of people out there. I'll give you an example. Quite early on,
Yes.
you had the Honorable Gary Nkombo in the house. He came with a bag of peanuts and he was eating the peanuts in the house whilst the session was on. I've been a member of parliament myself for 2 terms. I was a member of parliament. And that is not allowed on the floor of the house. Never is it allowed. It's frowned upon very, very gravely. But when the point of order was raised, she laughed it off and says, maybe he's just trying to get energy from the, and that was it. But when you had some other member of parliament from the opposition who came in with a dressing which was slightly borderline in terms of whether or not one can have it, that person was treated so harshly. And I believe that eating in the house shows more contempt than what that other person did. There are many examples of how she acts in a way which is very permissive to the people on her right side, who are the government benches, and those on the left side. And it creates a situation where you start to wonder whether people are able to properly represent their constituents.
Okay.
And when it comes to the JJ Banda issue,
Yes.
the whole government system seems to have really decided that they are going to get rid of Honorable JJ Banda. And it fits in with everything that has happened. If you have your member of parliament who has been abducted and people in the house are complaining about the way they've been treated, you should not come to be defensive to the state. You should allow for proper investigations to happen. But her reactions and so on show as if she's there to cover for the state, which is wrong.
Is there, I don't know whether we can speak to this, is there anywhere in the law or in the constitution where you can give an ultimatum to an MP that if they don't show up within a certain period, they will forfeit the seat?
Well, there isn't any. If they don't come for the sittings, they don't earn their
Allowance.
their sitting allowances. And the notification can be given to the House that I'm not going to be available for this period of time. Or alternatively, as what was being done, that people can decide not to be physically there, but do so virtually. That was introduced during the time of COVID, but all that has not been extended to him.
Interesting. Okay, let's get into the UKA and see what issues we can discuss and get to. I think, is it a few days ago, the alliance, you restructured the Kwacha alliance has restructured itself. Okay. What prompted the restructuring and renaming of the UKA Assembly of Presidents?
Well, what has been happening is that we have been growing very fast. And then also we've been looking at how communications are traveling down from the top down to the various party organs and party structures countrywide. And also the fact that we are now, like you're rightly saying, within a few days' time, we'll not be talking of 2 years, but 1 year away from the next election. So we
Exactly.
need to make sure that decisions which are made can be given quickly. And it's not only decisions, also consultations that we make to the lower organs. It's easier to get them if we now have in the Assembly of Presidents a much larger number of people. For example, in the Assembly of Presidents, we're now going to have the provincial heads from all the provinces who will be attending those. Again, they will not have to be traveling. We will be having them join in virtually in the meetings that we're going to be having. That way, we get to hear from the ground what is happening more directly, and also we communicate with them more directly. The same is happening with the assemblies at provincial level, that they are going to be having district officials and so on coming to the provincial level for the same reasons as we're doing with the national one. And district will also be doing the same with the constituency. So it's to make us more efficient and to be more consultative. That is what prompted us to do that. And apart from that, and importantly, we are not going to limit it to only the parties. We are going to extend it so that interest groups will also be invited to be coming and sitting in and giving their input. So whether it's from professional bodies, whether it's from unions, students' unions, professional unions, etc., we are going to be extending it that way, because the United Quarter Alliance is not just for politicians. It is for all Zambians. It's all sections of Zambia.
It's interesting you mentioned interest groups, because I was going to ask and say, what do you mean interest groups? So you've addressed that unions and economic organizations, NGOs, all of them can attend the Assembly of Presidents. Is that right?
That is right. And we're going to be investigating and seeing how the Zambian community in the diaspora can also be brought in.
Excellent. Excellent. There is a burning question that people have been asking. This one was forwarded to me to say, can your alliance, UCA, succeed given that it is not a registered entity? I don't know, you have to address the issue of registration. And given the fact that it does not yet have a visible elected leader, can it succeed?
Yes, it can succeed. There are two questions you've asked there, so I'll answer them separately. On the question of registration, we have seen that it seems government is dead set not to register us. We're going to give it a go to take the matter to court. And we hope that we're not going to suffer the same fate that the Patriotic Front faced when they took Miles Sampa to court. As you know, that matter has never been scheduled to actually be heard in terms of the main matter. Preliminary issues like injunction and so on, yes, those were held, but the main matter has never, ever been scheduled to be heard. So we suspect that that is what is going to happen to our court matter. But we'll give it a go. Maybe we'll be surprised and the judiciary will do the right thing. In the meantime, our plan B is that we do have registered political parties who are in
UCA.
And we are going to choose one of them to be the vehicle that will be used.
Okay.
One of the reasons why Citizens First has held the convention is, as you know, the law is that if you have not held your conventions, then they will not allow you to stand in the elections.
Oh,
So each
really?
one, yes, so each one of the political parties
Uh-huh.
is going to be holding the conventions, and then we'll be able to decide. The reason why each one is going to do that is because we have seen that they do make all kinds of attempts to disrupt, to take over other political parties. So that even if, let's say, they come and they take over ULP,
Mm-hmm.
that would be no problem. GPZ is there, or they do something to GPZ. We've got New Heritage Party is there, so that all of us can be the vehicle, and that will make it more difficult for them to sabotage
Mm-hmm.
us. That is the way that we're going to deal with that. On the question of the flag bearer,
Yes.
I don't think that that is something that need worry people, because as UKA, we strongly believe that we've gone past the stage where we should be looking for a messiah to be the leader. I think that we've come to the stage now in our development where we should be looking at what is the program which is being proposed, what are the solutions which are being brought. More importantly, what is the formation of the structure in terms of the personnel who will be there, because we don't think we should be offering to the Zambian people one person or two person,
Mm-hmm.
a president and vice president. We should be offering a team which, when people look at it, they'll say, yes, that looks like a credible team that can
Mm-hmm.
actually make a difference. And then by doing that, we are also creating a situation where if anything should happen to any one of us, let's say I'm chosen to be the flag bearer today, and then 4 months down the line, I'm in a road accident or something or anything happens.
Yes.
If we've only been selling Sakwiba Sikota, then we'll have to start afresh to sell somebody else. But if we're selling the whole team, it will
Mm.
be easier to then say, okay, this one will go there. As you know, they're out there trying to get various party leaders arrested and convicted. So at once you are convicted, then you can't stand. And their interpretation of what sedition is and so on, what hate speech is and so on, is so fickle and everything. You can say anything. You can say that you think Tuesday should be a public holiday, and then they'll lock you up and say that's seditious to tell people not to be working on Tuesdays. That is how silly some of these charges are. So it's very easy to foresee a situation where they start picking off one by one whoever you have put as the flag bearer and locking them up. Now, when they know that there's this whole array, it becomes more difficult for them to do that. In
Now,
terms
when you
of
say,
time,
okay.
I think that some people say time is a factor, but
Mm.
if all of them are being sold, it's not as if there's not going to be name recognition of each one of us. And then also look at countries like France. Macron, the very first time he got elected,
Yes.
nobody knew of him before then. It was just a matter of months. And there he was, he became a French president. There's a lot of examples of such things all over the world.
So when you say instead of promoting or fronting an individual, you do a team. The phrase team, what is it referring to? You're talking about the president, vice president, probably shadow cabinet, members of what when you say team, what are you specifically referring to?
What we're referring to is firstly that we have this crop of people
Mhm.
from whom one will be the presidential candidate, one will be the vice presidential candidate. And
Okay.
then the others will take various positions, like in a shadow cabinet kind of way. And that we are telling the people that the quality of the people we have
Yes.
is such that you should be comfortable with any one of them being the flag bearer.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I believe recently the Zambia, what is this called? The Electoral Commission of Zambia held what it called Zambia Election Stakeholders Conference.
Yeah.
Did Uka attend that? If so, what was your takeaway from that?
No, we did not attend. First of all, it is not something which we thought was genuinely being done. There is a plot by the government to interfere with the next elections and to skewer them in favor of the ruling government. That's why you don't have any proper consultations before they bring up suggestions. And the rush is also unnecessary. It's much like how they were trying to rush the cyber security bills and the terrorism bills, where you do not have sufficient time given to stakeholders to consult and make their suggestions. So we've told them that you cannot do that. And apart from that, the Electoral Commission of Zambia is not the one which should be at the front of it. They should be coming to a discussion, not as the ones who are in the front, but also to come to participate, to say, as ECZ, what we found in these places is such and such and such and such. And not to be the ones who are chairing it and then finalizing what is to be heard. No.
So as far as UCA is concerned, ECZ in its current state, form, and structure cannot deliver credible elections.
It cannot. It's quite clearly filled with cadres, people who you can find lots of pictures of them in UPND attire, flashing the UPND symbol and so on. It's not right. It's not right that such openly biased people should be the ones who are chairing and who are also in the top positions at the ECZ.
Okay. So how does UCA, Assembly of Presidents, which of course has been restructured, how, given that what you have said about ECZ, how do you intend to approach this election?
Well, one of the things that we intend to do is to make the case to the Zambian people that they really have to turn out in mass. Make the point to the Zambian people that they have to go and register. Because even when you have people who want to rig elections, if the numbers are so wide, it becomes more difficult. They'll try, but it become more difficult. So that's one thing. The second thing is, of course, to make sure that we put in place provisions which will allow us to monitor and guard the vote very, very stringently. Give all of our people who be at the voting stations an easy form of communication, an easy form of being able to take pictures and scan results and send them quickly, and to alert us immediately if there is some kind of shenanigans which are happening that we need to send a rapid response team to. Then, of course, there's also challenges that we will be making if there's legislation or rules put in place which are not democratic, we will be going to the courts over that to try to stop that. I think that there's also, of course, going to the international community. That is the SADC, that is the AU, that is even the Commonwealth, and even generally the UN and so forth, setting out the case so that pressure is put on this government. I think that you may have seen that the international community seems to have seen through this government. If you listen to what like the diplomats are saying now and so on, it's very different from what they were saying a year ago. Today, almost each time you hear that diplomats are saying something, it is to castigate
the government.
State. Even if you look at today's papers here in Zambia, the American ambassador is castigating them. It's on an everyday basis. So I think that going to them is something which they'll be receptive to, because they've seen through this government. They've definitely seen through this government.
Still on the elections and the democratic process in Zambia, you've used the word provisions in monitoring and having people at all polling stations. I mean, I can imagine how many thousands, there are thousands of polling stations, right? In any elections that we have. Yeah. This calls for a huge financial investment, State Council. What is UKA's preparedness financially to handle this? Because I want the citizens to understand that this is a massive, what do you call it, venture, if we may say. Yeah, undertaking, yes.
It certainly is. And you found that when the opposition was trying to contest on their own, you found that most parties would not be able to cover all of the polling stations because of the tremendous costs. So you find that in some polling stations, especially like in the urban ones where it's easier to get people, you'd have all the polling stations may be covered by each one of them. But when you go out into the rural areas and so on, it was much harder. And you find that in some, you didn't have any from the other parties and so on. Now, by us coming together under UKA, it means that our resources and personnel are now not going to be overstretched, because we will each be putting in the personnel. But in spite of that, still the finances, whether or not you are coming together in terms of personnel, are still very high. So we do need to raise a lot of money. We do need to convince people that this is their fight and they should invest in it. And I think that we will be able to do that, because we intend to do things differently from what you have been seeing in Zambian politics before. Even going forward, one of the reasons why we haven't also chosen a flag bearer right now is because with the constant interaction we're having with each other, we get to then know each other and to accept. I have sometimes got an idea that maybe we should do this or that. And then my colleagues will say, no, Saki, that doesn't make sense. Look at this and this and this and this. And then you look at it and say, oh yeah, okay. And that we've been doing to each and every one of ourselves. And we've come to accept that you cannot know everything. You cannot be the know-it-all. That you need to listen to the others. And then also, because of that relationship, whoever is chosen to be there, I'll be able to go and tell them, no, Mr. President or Mrs. President, that is not correct. That is not what we think. because that is the kind of relationship that we're building up. And that is what Zambia needs, because a lot of times you find that people who you thought were okay, once they're in there, nobody is able to tell them, no,
what to do, anything or advice.
what you're doing wrong. That's not it. But with the way we are building up UKA, that is going to be an everyday thing. Each one of us will be a check on each of the others.
Excellent, excellent. Our guest today is Unite Kwacha Alliance chairperson, Mr. Sakwiba Sikota, State Council. What do you see as major obstacles to the evolution of Zambian democracy? And how likely are these obstacles to hinder UKA's progress?
The obstacles, the main obstacle is, of course, this current government, who seem to be preoccupied with putting roadblocks against freedoms of associations, freedoms of expression, and making it difficult to give a message to the Zambian people. I was amazed that Chief Government spokesperson today is reported as having said any student who goes and sees former President Lungu is going to be dealt with. What is wrong with seeing former president? Why should somebody be dealt with for going to see him? If they go there to give him arms, yes, deal with them. But if they're going there to see him, to just discuss politics, whatever, there should be no reason to do so. So you can see the attitude of this government, that they are so scared that they want to do things which are even ridiculous by any standard. So those are the things that we need to fight against. And then I'm very, very, at the same time, very optimistic in that when you interact with the various people, just 2 days ago, we were interacting with the Gen Z people, and you find that the young people are very determined and know what they want and know what they're demanding from government. And they are not being cowed or scared by the fact that some of them were being arrested, some of them were detained for almost just like the over 2 weeks before they were let out. And by the way, those Gen Z people, up to now, even though they've been released, they are not actually even appearing in court. The problem the state has is that they don't know what charge to give them. Because to be honest, there's really no charge that they can be given. When we finish this, perhaps I could go to the actual case, So the youth know what they want. It's not only the youth who know what they want. When we go into the markets, and we've had to do so quietly, because each time, if they know that you're going to the market, they say you can't go there. They say that you're causing things. So,
but I thought those things went away. State Council. I thought those things went away.
They were supposed to have gone away. They were supposed to, but they are very much there. Even the issue of cadres, which they keep on saying, well, under PF there were cadres, now there are no cadres. It's not true. When you go and talk to the people in the markets, they will look around to check around to see whether there somebody is looking at them. And then they will whisper to you about how they're being harassed by cadres and so on. So everything we were told would go away is still there, maybe even worse than the time when PF was there. You have right now this cyber security thing. Before they came in, they were saying this is a bad law. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to repeal it and everything. I'm sure you all remember that.
Yes, yes. There were screenshots on social media of what was posted years ago.
But instead of doing what they promised, they actually attempted to stiffen it even more. And if you look at the usage of the same law that they said was a bad law, they used it much, much more often than the PF when PF, the small period of time PF was in after the act was made. They've used it more. So that tells you that these are not reasonable people who will change anything.
You see, when you speak about the issue of cadres, I wrote it down here so that I don't forget. I looked for that video. I wish I'd saved it, Mr. What happened was that Lundazi member of parliament who donated mattresses to a hospital and she was told she couldn't do it. I'm trying to. Was that in Lundazi?
Eastern province somewhere.
Yes.
I can't remember, but it was Eastern province, yes. That is the kind of thing which is totally wrong. You look at the mayor of Kafue,
Yes.
who was the UPND at the time. PF was governing. He went to see at some function in Kafue, where the president was. He went to attend, and he was expelled by President Hakainde merely for attending there. But what is President Hakainde doing now? He's always bringing in people from the opposition when he goes somewhere, MPs, mayors, council secretary, council chairman, and so forth. He's always doing that. That shows you that there's too much hypocrisy on his part, just too much hypocrisy. And we need a sincere person in government.
Okay, I'm going to put up this comment. I really am interested in the last part of it. Dr. Kasonso says State Council should rejoin UPND to make a more viable contribution to the nation. That's how he can use his last years on earth. A few weeks ago, okay, now that's a part I'm interested in. A few weeks ago, he wanted to convince us to bring back the Lungu. He says the Lungu. What happened with the relationship between Uka and the former President Lungu? He's saying you were trying to convince us to bring back Lungu. I don't know how you want to respond to
that. I can assure you, there's never ever been a time when I said you must bring back President Lungu. No, there's never. I can say that with total confidence. What we did state is that we are working together with PF, with all the other parties in order to get rid of these people. We have never said that we are trying to convince you to bring back President Lungu. Mr. Kasonso, Dr. Kasonso, should actually look at even the reasons given by those who formed Tonse for leaving Uka. You'll see that the main reason they said is that we had not endorsed President Lungu. That's there for everybody to see. That's the reason they've given. So I think, Dr. Kasonso, you are not being fair when you say that a few weeks ago we were saying we want to bring back President Lungu.
Oh, Dr. Kasonso is not up to date with what is happening. Is that? He's my friend. I can tease him and mess with him, whatever. So, are you saying that the people who formed the Tonse Alliance came out of Uka?
Some of them.
Some of them. Okay.
Some of them. Yeah, you have some like President Sinkamba who were not. You have others like Chanoda Ngwira who was not. I don't know, but a number of them they formed that. And all of them from day one are the ones who were saying what Dr. Kasonso is saying we were saying. It wasn't me or the others who were saying that.
Mm. All right. This is probably the main question of this. It's about when people want to govern, or a political party, individuals, it's about the welfare of the people. And right now we have like, I mean, 3, 4 alliances: UPND Alliance, UKA, Tonse. I don't know if there's any other. I know those three. Or an alliance of political parties. State Council is conscious merging of diverse political visions and agenda. What will be UKA's policies in the event of alliance coming to power?
Well, one of the things that I think is important is the fact that when we were looking at what each one of us were advocating for, there were many more similarities than dissimilarities.
Okay.
That it didn't make sense that all of us are out there trying to get to basically the same position. Maybe
Yes.
there's slight difference in terms of the route that was being suggested by one or the other, but basically it is to go in the same direction. We have gone quite far in that we are ready to actually be launching our joint policy document,
Okay.
which will be done very in the first quarter of next year, which is basically just around the corner. And that we think is more important than even the flag bearer. We believe that is more important than even the flag
Yes.
bearer, because even if you have a flag bearer, the flag bearer will have to be tied down to what you have promised the people. Like I said, we've gone past the time where we all look up to some kind of messiah or savior. That is not where Zambia is. What we should be looking at is, what are the good ideas? That is what is the most important thing.
Yeah, because the pertinent issues affecting the citizens is, I mean, it's evident. I mean, the standard of living is the hardships, economic hardships. The elephant in the house is load shedding and unemployment. That's a big one. It's been with us for years now. Um, you see, one of the things that really amazes me is how we tend, State Council, to prefer foreign investment to empowering our own citizens. I'll give an example like the CEEC. I don't even know whether it's functioning or it's just keeping people in employment who operate or run it. Those are some of the, I don't know whether UKA has addressed some of those things and how some of those organizations are going to be handled or treated in UKA government, so to speak.
We have looked at those. You've mentioned two areas. Maybe let me touch a bit on them. You mentioned the load shedding, and you've also mentioned the high cost of living and employment not being there. With the load shedding, there are certain things which should have been done a long time ago. For
Yes.
example, ensuring that we set up solar plants in many areas of the country. Belatedly and in a very small way, they've started doing that. That is well and good, but then that is not the only thing that can be utilized. In the meantime, whilst you're still trying to get to that stage, there was an offer from the Russian government for utilization of, they have these ships which generate power. Sierra Leone right now is actually benefiting from that. They've got off the coast a Russian power tanker, which is doing that. They offered that to us, and it was going to be cheaper than even the power we're now importing. Apart from that, they said they didn't need to be paid upfront, that they would give us terms in terms of paying for that power. But this government decided not to take it up. This was at the time when this government was so fixated with trying to look good to the Westerners that we don't deal with these others
with
and
Russia.
so on. With Russia and with China. Well, if you remember with China, when he went to the US, he was even being patted on the back when he came out from the committee that looks into foreign affairs, and they were saying he has promised that he's going to take care of China. I think you remember that. That was so sad. What we should be doing is we shouldn't be East or we shouldn't be West. We should be just for whatever is best for Zambia, whether it is from the East or the West. That is the space that we should be occupying. Now, if that had been taken up, the Russian offer, we would not be facing this kind of problem that we have. Because you have to realize that with this load shedding, a lot of companies have actually gone bankrupt and have died. A lot of people have become unemployed, which touches on the second issue you were talking about.
Yes.
Instead of lessening, we are increasing it by not dealing with issues such as load shedding. It is not only the Russian thing that we could have utilized, and that is not a long-term solution. That was going to be just a short-term solution. There are more long-term solutions. Here in Lusaka, for example, I know that there are 4 huge sewer plants, very huge sewer plants, 4 of them. When you drive around, you can smell them, you know, and you can smell them because of the methane. That methane is just let go into the atmosphere. That methane can be captured and generate electricity.
Yes.
That is being done in lots of countries. But with us, we've got that and we just let it be a nuisance to the people who live around those sewer plants. In terms of those sewer plants, they could resolve the domestic usage in Lusaka. The domestic. I'm not talking about the industrial. The domestic
The domestic usage in Lusaka.
Yes. Which would mean that you'd now only be looking at the industrial usage that you need to get from the other traditional sources. That would mean that there's less problems. So you don't need to do it just in Lusaka. You do it in Kitwe, you do it in Ndola, you do it everywhere. You find that you are creating less demand. As UKA, even people in the rural areas, there are certain things you could do whilst you're still trying to bring power to those areas to make their lives better. On almost a weekly basis, you hear that there is somebody who has been attacked by a crocodile when they were either washing clothes in the river or going there to draw water. There's very simple technology in terms of water being brought out of a river or a lake. If you go to the Netherlands, more than 2 centuries ago, and even up to now, they were using windmills, simple small windmills to move water. Those can be manufactured by any one of our metal workers in the country. You put those up so that the water is moved 50 meters or 100 meters from the riverbank, and people can safely get water. I could go on and on. I just wanted to give a few examples. Now,
Yeah,
turning to the issue of the work and the employment issues, I think that we are giving away our wealth, giving it away. We've got lithium, we've got all kinds of things, but we're going to allow them to just export it out. I think it's Bolivia, which has got lithium as well. And they have stated that they'll only give license to people who will then utilize the lithium within the country to produce things like lithium batteries and so forth. Thereby, they're creating more jobs. It's not just the mining, but it will also be those who will be putting together the lithium products and so on. So you create more employment and you create more wealth for the country, much more wealth for the country. You also have a situation where there's 1 billion which had been US dollars, which had been assessed as being due from one of the mining companies. And they've gone and written it down. Yeah, written it down to a ridiculously small amount. That money could have been taken and plowed. Let me utilize what the president was complaining about just yesterday. Yesterday, he was complaining about the lack of equipment in hospitals, specialized equipment and so forth, and that there isn't the money for it. There isn't the money because you're giving away the money. That which you gave away could have fitted every single hospital with a state-of-the-art machinery, but you give it away. And our people are dying off. People cannot receive the medical services that they require in the country. So those are the things that we need to look at and to deal with.
Yeah. Final question, State Council. At this, what should we expect at this joint policy document ceremony? And like we've said, the purpose we're having this conversation is in a few days, in a few weeks, it will be 2025, and we'll be saying the elections are next year. What should we expect at this joint policy document ceremony? And when does UCA announce to the world who's going to be the lead person? Who's going to appear on the ballot?
Okay, let me take the first one, and then the last one will be at the end. With regards to what you can expect is, I think you can expect a document where we'll be looking as to what is best for the Zambians, to make sure that it is not foreigners or international companies which benefit from the resources we have, but it is the Zambians. To ensure that we have a proper priority in terms of utilization of the funds that we have. You cannot, for example, have a situation where you say you're going into a PPP with somebody to build a road, specifically Lusaka Ndola Road. And you say, okay, you'll be borrowed the money from our own NAPSA. So it's our own money. We come and say, Nathan, can you build us a road? Here's the money from NAPSA. And Nathan then says, okay, for me to be able to pay that back, I need to be receiving money from the toll gates. Not the toll gates that he will build, but the existing toll gates. You hand that over to Nathan, and Nathan starts getting that. That is not proper planning. That is not what should be happening. If we have that money, Then what we should be doing is, if we don't have the skilled people to build the road, we bring them in and pay them. And we are the ones who collect the toll fees. Because after all the money is coming from ourselves, from NAPSA. It doesn't make sense. So you need to be focused on doing what is best for the Zambian people. You need to ensure that in terms of agriculture, you ensure that you know in advance where there's going to be drought and so forth. So you know right now that southern, western, central are going to have a bit of drought. The north and parts of the east will be relatively okay. So you concentrate to make sure that all the inputs are first go there. You don't disregard the other places, but you make sure that there where you know it's very likely you're going to have good rains, that they are ready so that we maximize. But right now you find that those areas are not fully prepared. That is bad planning. It's not discrimination to say, okay, there it's going to give us better returns. Let's first of all make sure that that is done. That is not discrimination. That is being wise. We also want to ensure that we build on the free education. Free education is something which is good. Don't get me wrong, it is good, it's very good. But for it to have meaning, it's got to be quality free education. So we will move to making it quality free education. We will move to ensure that the student-teacher ratio is not as bad as it is. Right now, you have some classes where you've got 120 students in a class.
Wow.
I understand that cannot be quality education. So, in terms of education, we would work on that. In terms of education, again, right now they said that they're going to be doing skills training and so forth. I think they said they're going to begin it in 2025. That is very good that skills training will be done, but they have not planned for it. Right now, there are no teachers for teaching skills, those skills. There are none. Just because I'm a metal worker, I cannot go and teach others. I need to be taught how to teach. There's no training of those that is being done. So again, you will not have quality product at the end of the day. You know? So it's not just a matter of saying things which look good. It is actually planning to make implementation of those make sense. I could go on and on. There's various things that we will be doing. Of course, between now and then, I'm calling for people out there who are listening, who may have ideas, to send them to us. It's not too late. And then
like Dr. Kasonso.
Yes, especially Dr. Kasonso. Let him tell us what we should do.
Yeah, exactly. Ladies.
Then you were asking about when we will make the announcement. Like I told you, it will be early next year. We will make the announcement of who the flag bearer will be.
Excellent, excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we thought we would engage our political leaders and hear, particularly from the United Kwacha Alliance, where they stand. Because like we said at the beginning, in a few days we'll be saying next year the elections. We do thank you, State Council Sakwiba Sikota, UKA chairperson, for engaging us and informing and educating us on the preparedness preparations that UKA is doing going into 2026 elections. Thank you, sir.
I thank you for giving me this opportunity. And one last appeal to the people who are listening out there. UKA is yours. UKA doesn't belong to us, the politicians. UCA needs your support, both in terms of ideas and even financially. It is you investing in the future of your children and grandchildren. I hope that you will answer the call.
Thank you, sir. Merry Christmas to you.
And a Happy New Year as well for you.
Thank you. All right, everyone. That was our show today. I enjoy talking to State Counsel Sakwiba Sikota. He's just forthright, plain, and to the point. He doesn't, I would say, politicize things and everything else. All right. And thank you to Dr. Stella Banda for joining us. She says thank you for the insights. And Brenda also, good morning. And everybody else who was watching, we appreciate you joining us on this conversation. Join us again next week for another interesting conversation as we we continue to engage our political leaders on their preparedness for 2026 elections. Have a wonderful weekend.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.